Hi, and welcome to Science with Mrs. Stone from Advancing Science at Gettysburg College. Today we are going to talk about animal tracks. Animal tracks are traces or evidence left behind by animals. And we can look closely at these tracks to learn more about the animals, their footprints, their size, their shape, as well as their activities. By now you should have read the article entitled The Greatest of Feet. And in that article, you learned about the different types of foot adaptations that animals may have. Animals' feet come in all different shapes and sizes, but they are specially adapted to help them be successful in their environment, to help them move, to help them gather food, to help them dig homes. Some footprint adaptations also help provide protection for an animal's feet. Let's take a look at the pictures on the bottom of the screen. There are 3 different footprints. Look at these pictures and answer the 3 questions. What special foot characteristics do you notice on the pictures below? Give an example of an animal that has that type of foot. And number 3, how might those characteristics help the animal be more successful in its environment? Go ahead and pause the video now while you answer these questions, and then start the video back up to check your work. Are you ready to check your work? The first footprint shows both claws and pads. An animal like a fox may have a footprint like this. Now remember that some animals may have claws, but those claw marks may not show up in their footprints, and that's because animals like cats can retract their claws. Claws can help an animal to defend itself, to catch prey, or to dig. Pads can help animals by protecting their feet, acting like shock absorbers, sort of like the bottom of your sneakers. If you jump and you have your sneakers on, you have all that padding on the bottom, and it helps to protect your feet, to act like a shock absorber. Our second footprint is an example of a footprint with webbing in between the toes. An animal like a duck may have webbed feet, and those webbed feet would help the duck to be able to paddle through the water. And lastly, we have an example of a hoof print. Now, hooves are made of keratin, which is the same thing that our fingernails are made of, and this helps to protect the animal's feet. An animal like a deer would have hooves, and the deer spend a lot of time on its feet, so it's great to have those hooves to provide protection. When we look at animal tracks, we can learn about an animal's walking style, or what we call their gait. Animals like deer, cats, and dogs, animals with long, thin legs, are what we call diagonal walkers. And diagonal walkers move opposite sides of their body together. So in the example of our deer, we can see that the right rear foot is moving together with the left front foot. And then in the next picture, our left rear foot is moving together with the right front foot. And the footprint pattern that we see as a result of a diagonal walker looks like a zigzag pattern. And you can see in the yellow and the orange circles here that the front footprint is the yellow and the orange footprint is the rear. And because of the way that they walk, those footprints look like they overlap each other. So this is a diagonal walker. Pacing is another gait or walking style. Animals like bear and beaver that have a short, stocky legs walk with the same sides of their body moving together. So that means that the right rear leg would move the same time as the right front leg, and the left rear leg would move the same time as the left front leg. And the footprint pattern that we see as a result of a pacer walking around looks like this. And you can see the small circle represents the front footprint, and the oval represents the back footprint. So we can see that the front and the back footprint almost look like they're just together like that, because they are moving the same sides of their body together. Animals like weasels demonstrate what we call bounding. And when a weasel bounds, their front footprint comes down first. That's represented by the small yellow circles right here. And then their back feet hit the ground, and that's represented by the larger orange circles here. And so the footprint pattern that we see as a result of a bounder shows the front foot in front and next to each other, and the back feet in back and next to each other. And our fourth gait pattern or walking style is shown by squirrels and rabbits. And they land their front feet down first, again represented by the small yellow circles here. But then when they bring their rear feet down or their hind feet down, they actually swing those hind feet down around and they land in front of their front feet. And so that's why you see in this picture series here that the rear feet, represented by the orange ovals, are actually shown in the first part of the animal track pattern. This animal is moving in this direction to the right, and so we can see those rear footprints marking down in front of the front footprints. Now, stride is another thing that we need to take into account when we are looking at footprints. Stride is the distance that is measured between the tracks that are made by the same foot. So, for example, if you were to stand still in the mud, your footprints would look something like this. They would look side by side. Then, if you started to walk, you would see a zigzag pattern with your feet as you alternated feet walking forward. If you were to measure the stride of your walking pattern, you would measure from the heel of your right foot to the heel of the next time your right foot touched the ground. That distance is your stride. Now, try running instead. Let's again measure the stride, the distance between the heel of your right footprint to the heel of the next time your right footprint came down. And you'll notice, here's your stride when you're walking, here's your stride when you're running. What happens to stride as an animal starts to move faster? You'll see that it gets much longer as an animal starts to move faster. We see that in humans and we also see that in animals. Now, for our lesson today, there are 4 different scenes, and you can see they're labeled up in the top left corner. Your teacher may have assigned you a particular scene for this activity. On each of the scenes, you see a variety of different footprints in different colors. Each footprint series that was made, or trackways, is in a separate color. So we can see here is a set of green footprints moving across. That represents one trackway, one animal moving through. Here we can see a red trackway moving through the center. Again, that represents one animal's pattern walking through. And we see a purple trackway coming across this way, and then finally an orange trackway coming across that. Now, your teacher should have provided you with a data sheet, and we're going to begin by completing table number 1. We're going to identify the different animal tracks that we find at the scene. Your teacher should have also provided you with access to an animal track resources file. Let's take a minute to look at that file. Here is a look at the animal tracks resource file that your teacher shared with you. The first few pages just include some basic information that we've already reviewed as part of this video. If you continue to scroll down, you'll see that there's a page for each of the different types of animals that may be present on your scene. You'll see that each includes a picture of the animal, a small view of their footprint, and then a map that shows their range in North America. There's a little bit of information about those animals, and then if you look to the next page, you'll see even more information about their footprints and what it looks like when the animal is standing still and when they're walking. As you continue to scroll down, you'll see one page for each animal, and then that information page is always followed by more details about their footprints. So use this file as you investigate each of your scenes, and this file is what will help you figure out all the identity of all of those different animal footprints. To complete table number 1 on your data sheet, start with the first set of tracks. I'll go ahead and start with the green tracks. When I look in the animal resource folder, I look closely for tracks that match this pattern. I need to look closely at the footprints to check out their size, their shape, and also to look for characteristics such as claws. I found that this footprint series matched the tracks for the bobcat, and when I look closely at those feet, I see that they have pads. So I'll go ahead and list that here under their foot characteristics. You'll continue on to identify each of the different colors. So my next would be to do the red, then I could do the orange, and finally the purple footprints, completing one row for each of the different color footprints. Once you've completed table number 1, it's time to complete table number 2. To complete table number 2, choose one of the animals shown at your scene and record its name at the top. Then look to the Animal Track Resources file that your teacher shared with you to learn more about that animal. You should be able to read information about its habitat, its body shape and movement, its diet, and then feel free to share any other information that you find interesting. For example, if I continue on with the bobcat, I will record the name of the bobcat up here at the top in the title of my table, and then I will read about the bobcat to learn that its habitat is in the forest. I'll continue reading to answer the rest of the questions along here. Once you've finished table 1 and table 2, you'll then want to tell the story of what happened at your scene. As you tell the story, please be sure to describe each of the following. Describe the setting. Where did it take place? Describe each of the animal's activities. How were they moving around? Were they walking? Were they running from a predator? Maybe they were standing still. Were they chasing their prey? Share the timeline for your scene. Do you think all the animals were present at the same time? Share the habitat features of your scene. Did you see food, water, and shelter available for all of the different animals that were present in your scene? Let's take a look at each of the 4 scenes quickly. This is scene number 1. You'll see it has 4 different color trackways. Scene number 2 includes 4 different color trackways as well. It also includes a few extra features to help you understand the scene. Up here at the top you can see a tree. Here's our tree rings, those annual growth rings. Down here at the bottom we see some water flowing. Maybe it's a river. And this looks like a pile of sticks over here. In scene number 3, we can see these black marks up here, which represent a tire. Now notice how the tire marks are dark here at the beginning, and then they get lighter on the way back. Think about if you've ever ridden your bike and hit the brakes real hard, what did the patch mark look like that you left behind? Here's a line along here. So this maybe is a road, and then perhaps this, because we have animal footprints over here, so perhaps this is the side of the road. And finally, scene number 4, we have a couple of clues to help us understand the setting. Down here we see a birdhouse, a tree, and a trash can, and we have 3 different color trackway patterns on this. So go ahead and complete the assignment for the scene or scenes that your teacher assigned to you.